Alex and I originally met because of the work that you were doing effectively at business development as the COO for a ceramics rocket company. So just crazy, crazy, amazing stuff. And now
Right.
you're at this inflection point of making a transition into maybe something else and figuring out what's next. So we've been going on this journey together to figure that out.
Right.
Tell me about it. Go.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so listen, I mean, for the past, I think a little preface is in order here, to sort of explain how I got to working at a crazy aerospace company with a mad scientist. You know, for the past 8 years, I've been in the startup community. Prior to that, though, I had done a variety of account executive type roles in sales and in different industries, from commercial security, retail finance with the mortgages, and a bunch of others. And when I went back to school, you and I both share the experience of having been in the service, and you went to B school after you were done, and I went out and I was an enlisted guy, so I went out and got my undergrad after I was done, and that experience was really pivotal for me, and set me on the path that I'm just getting off of now. And one of the things that I was an older student. I was nominated to be the chairman of the Arts and Science Student Council, and that gave me a really big platform at UMSL, University of Missouri St. Louis. It gave me a big platform to sort of get some of my pet projects done, and one of them was creating a veterans center on campus, and that was incredibly important to me since the university at the time had nothing in place. And I felt that there was a bit of a moral responsibility for me to make sure that this institution was living up to the promises it was making to the community. And so I was able to get this veterans center set up, and now UMSL is one of the premier universities in the Midwest for veterans to attend. In a less altruistic note, I also went ahead and I had an interest at the time in environmental studies. I really liked that nexus of environmental groups, businesses, and local government, where the rubber sort of meets the road, and there's a lot of complexity there. And it was something that was of great interest to me to study. And so we didn't have a program there, so I created the program. I put together the curriculum, and I was thoughtful about it. I understand large bureaucracies and how to pull the levers. And for me, it was a pretty quick run. It took me about 6 months to get it, create a new environmental studies program passed through the faculty senate. And now they're offering that across the board. So I'm pretty proud of those two bigger achievements. But those things really spurred me on and made me realize I love creating. I love making things. I love this idea of like path dependency. And that led me to working for startups. My first one was actually a solar company in the renewable space out of San Antonio, and they're still kicking and doing great down there. Shout out to Patrick Atwater. I'll tag him later at 180 Solar. A great organization. And then I've worked in healthcare as well, which wasn't B2B, it was B2C. And I didn't care for healthcare as much. I have a lot of interests. But healthcare really just wasn't one of them. But I enjoyed the work. Again, with the rapid pace and the wearing of many hats. And after that, after the healthcare stint, I found myself in aerospace. I just want to preface all this with, I didn't have any experience in any of these industries when I came into them. I'm a quick study. And for me, the through line is people and ideas. And those are the things that I'm attracted to. And we can talk a little bit more about that later. But I met Brian Stofield, the mad engineer, mad scientist, at a conference. And he needed somebody, like a lot of engineers, he needed somebody with some people skills to help him build a team and move the ball forward and start building some really strong relationships. We were a bootstrapped operation. The focus of the operation was really material sciences, and working with additive manufacturing and creating composite ceramics through a patented process that we developed. And all of that was built around the framework of a small satellite launch vehicle, of which we were testing engines. I think we did something like 38 static test fires, 2 balloon launches, and 4 hover tests. And with some great success. It was a lot of fun. I think one of the best things about that whole experience were just the conversations that I got to have with just amazing people. And these conversations ranged from everybody, from a wide swath of people. People working on in a small customized automotive shop where they're building custom parts for rally cars and things like that, all the way up to meeting with Senate staffers to offer comments on commercial space legislation. And by the way, those meetings would happen like Tuesday and then a Wednesday. So I mean, like, a lot of varied conversations and a lot of interesting stakeholders. And everybody sort of brings, a new perspective to a complex problem like that. And I really enjoy that. So, like a lot of other startups though, COVID ate up our runway, and and now I'm at a point now where I'm ready to make a new pivot. So here we are having this chat.
Yeah, and I love this. So I love talking to people, not just about pivot points in the past and what they learned through them and what it was like to go through that and to do whatever it is next. But I very much love. Sorry for the friction point you're in right now, but I love talking to people in the moment, because that is, when we as a community can help grow, share, and help. But also, like, what's your mindset, where you're at, like, what's the journey look like as you're kind of going through this right now?
I mean, that's a great question. I think, one of the things that, and the reason why I brought that prior pivot point up at UMSL is because, I mean, I think it really is about getting down to the basics, the things that make you tick. And those are the things that are going to drive you forward in any direction that you're going. So for me, somebody with a wide variety of interests, I really had to distill what's my through line. I mean, I have all these experiences out there in different industries, and for me, it's about people and ideas. And actually, it was at your recommendation that I took one of those personality tests, the Myers-Briggs, and I sort of poo-pooed the idea in the past. And I took it, and
I did, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to put me in a box. They put me in a box real quick, and it was creepily, accurate. So if anybody knows or cares, I'm an ENFP-A.
Yep. Okay, so you went through, you did a little bit of self-inventory, self-assessment there. It came back and said you're a campaigner, is ENFP.
Right.
So a campaigner, and it. What was it like reading those results?
A little disturbing that they knew so much about me. But I identified with where they knew where my skill set was. They knew my strengths, right away. And my strengths are, I can bring a lot of disparate people together and rally them around a cause and maintain momentum. I have some innate leadership skills, and you and I actually discussed this early on. I jokingly say, I've Benjamin Buttoned my professional career, in the sense that I started off like you in the service, and I call that my executive MBA. I mean, it was a master's in leadership, and discipline and execution. And I think these different points in your life, I think you've got to pick these little pieces up, internalize them, and realize that those are the things that are driving you. And conversely, you also need to know about the things that you're weak at, and the things that I'm weak, at most campaigners are, I mean, executive function is something that I have to actually, I practice and I work at, it's the part that I work. Everything else is easy for me, but I work hard at maintaining an organized situation, and it was enlightening. Let's just say that the whole process of taking that exam, and I took it a couple different times with a couple of different platforms, just to make sure, that the results were accurate, and over and over again. So, I've been pegged and put in my box.
So one thing that I want anybody listening to this to kind of know, understand, and grasp and take forward is that just because you are one thing does not mean that you cannot do the other thing. Right. It just means that it must be a learned skill versus innate, and it is going to take work to get there. So you don't have to go through and define yourself by what the answers are. This is a tool to understand yourself and where your own gaps might be. And then Alex went through that. We've already talked about it. And I know that I've watched that light bulb turn on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, listen, being self-aware is something I think that's been a benefit to me throughout my life. I've had an inordinate amount of being self-aware, if you will. So, but moving forward, I think the question now is, with all the knowledge that I've attained about myself, where, and all the experiences that I've picked up over the years, where do I want to go next? Right. I mean,
that is the question that I want to ask. Well, that is the question I want to ask right there.
I think for me, the things that the places that I'm interested in working are, in the cloud, really, because I think that's where you see a lot of high impact projects being undertaken. And also, they have a lot of complexity. The jobs require a lot of autonomy and bringing people together to solve more complex problems. So to that end, in this time that I've also invested some time in myself. I went ahead and got my AWS practitioner certification and my scaled agile, just to sort of show future employers and partners that that I'm a go-getter, if you will, as it were.
I love that. And there's one thing I want to pontificate on just briefly is you love navigating complex systems and cultures. You don't like making things unnecessarily complex.
Correct. And actually, it's the reduction of these complexities into a simple path that I'm able to. That's my skill set.
Finding simplicity.
Right. Finding the simplicity, the straight line to the end. And I like to bring as many people along with me on that journey as I can. So,
well, let's talk about that. So what is your straight line to the end? So what is your straight line and what is your end?
What's my next evolution look like? Well, I think it looks like me going back to a primarily sales focused role. Something more, a sales process that's more consultative and complex. It involves a lot of stakeholders and human beings. I think that's where I need to be. I mean, the pandemic. Obviously I'm an extrovert. The internet told me so. But I'm an extrovert, but I haven't had enough human face-to-face interaction over the pandemic, and I'm itching to get back out there and get in front of customers and get in front of people and hear their stories and their problems and try to help them solve those things. And the cloud is huge. There's so much happening there. I mean, for me, I think some of the more specific areas that I have just a nerdy interest in. The IoT is fascinating to me, especially after working in that aerospace industry, and that's really going to be a big part of the future, growth in the space economy. So that's very interesting to me. I think there's a lot of applications out there that people are coming up with that are, really they are legitimately disruptive, and most of them impactful, at least. Anything that's B2B in that realm, I really don't. I've learned that when I was doing the healthcare job, one of the things I didn't like about that industry is that, and we talked about this specifically, is one of the groups we were servicing were veterans, and I couldn't stomach taking a check from these old guys, who didn't have a lot, and I mean, the VA was chipping in and stuff. We were, navigating these different programs and helping them get through these things. And but still, at the end of the day, you got to take a check from some guy. Like, it should be free. It's so hard for me to do an emotional sale. So I learned that about myself and put the nail in that coffin early on. And so definitely something on the B2C side. Technically, I'm technologically agnostic, but I definitely want to operate in the cloud. I think there's a lot of impactful things happening in that space, and will continue to be happening in that space in the future. So.
Excellent. So for anybody listening to this, some of the stuff that Alex and I have talked about are point sales. We've talked about a little bit about value-added resellers and how those VARs tend to be able to sell many different products in a specific space to make sure that we have right fit. We talked a little bit about the broker space, which is literally, if we can't find best fit, there's probably not a good option, or at least through this particular channel. And each one of those different areas, as long as you can find something that allows you to help your client, because like as a campaigner, and I'm an advocate, so you and I,
hand in hand.
Part of the reason that we click is because we're basically the exact opposite.
Right. Yep, absolutely right.
But it still comes together in the fact that we want to make sure that our clients have what they need, so that way they are successful, and their success is our success.
Right. We both have our eye on the same ball, and we're coming at it from different directions, and both of those directions are necessary. I mean, you have to have a wide ecosystem of people, different kinds of people, bringing their skill set to solving the problem. I don't have all the answers. I can look it up though, or ask somebody. That's always been a win. So absolutely right though.
So I want to know what your next 30 days looks like.
I'd like to be in my new home, as it were, in the next 30 days, have with a new team, and have that sort of buttoned up. I'd like to have some great conversations over the next few weeks. Feel free to find me on LinkedIn, drop me a note. I will talk your ear off about space, solar, whatever. I'm easy. I like to talk and I like to listen. So, but yeah, I'd like to have some great conversations and really explore some of the opportunities in more detail that are out there right now.
Excellent. So for anybody that's listening that is looking to hire account managers, sales leads, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, talk with Alex. Yeah. So always, we've known each other for a couple of years. Always fun to talk with you. Always walk away learning something. Can't wait to sit down with you and have a beer again.
I appreciate it, Stefan. Have a good one.